Yes, Veronica, good morning. Flying solo today, but of course I would hold forth. Let's go into what we have for you today now. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the midweek edition of FCT Brief. Less than 24 hours ago, a federal high court adjourned the suit seeking the deregistration of the African Democratic Congress, ADC, alongside other political parties, raising fresh concerns about the survival of smaller parties and the broader implication for multi-party democracy. At the heart of the matter lies the delicate balance between electoral law and political inclusivity and the powers of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. This morning on FCT Brief, we will examine the legal, political, and democratic dimensions of this unfolding development. What does this adjournment mean for the affected parties? Is this a routine judicial process or a signal of deeper political maneuvering ahead of the next electoral cycle? And more importantly, how could these shape the choices available to Nigerians at the ballot in 2027? For more on these critical issues, we are being joined by Barrister Uzo Azubike, Zonal Coordinator, Southeast National Forum of Former Legislators, a seasoned legal practitioner and political analyst. He brings a wealth of insight into party politics, electoral law, and democratic governance. Barrister Azubike, it's good to have you in our studio this morning. You're welcome.
Thank you, TG. Good morning.
Well, let's go into the issue of the day. Your group is pushing for deregistration of smaller political parties. And you see the reason given for this is more like a routine thing. But Nigerians will want to interpret it as probably a political strategy, and they will ask, why this close to the 2027 election, if so?
Thank you very much. You're referring to the suit we filed in the Federal High Court in 2025, seeking to mandate INEC to discharge their duties according to the highest law of the land, the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Nigeria is civil. The government in Nigeria is built on the Constitution, not military, not arbitrary. In constitutional jurisprudence, they talk about the Grundlaw. That is the master of all the laws on which every actions, decisions, policies of government and the people must be rooted. So that anything you do that does not have the approval of the Constitution cannot be sustained. You talked about trying to delist smaller parties. I do not think that that is correct.
Okay.
The body we have, the National Forum of Former Legislators, which I'm privileged to be the coordinator for the Southeast, is an assembly of former members of former legislators at all levels, former senators, former members of House of Reps, former members of House of Assembly, and former councillors, to create the opportunity to harvest the knowledge and experience of legislators who are no longer in office. The idea is to ensure that the nation leverages on the experience of these former legislators to do things according to the law, in this case, the Constitution, to protect the integrity of the legislature that is often misunderstood. You know, anytime there's a conflict between the legislature and the executive, people side the executive. They see legislators as troublemakers, people who always fight and all that kind of thing, and they have nobody speaking for them. So the essence of this body is to ensure that we protect the integrity of the legislature be able to advise our colleagues who are in office, because sometimes they also overshoot, they overrun.
Okay, Mr. Azug, before you go ahead, you just mentioned that this is not an attempt to delist smaller political parties. So what is the mission? Why are you in the High Court if you're not planning to deregister these parties?
No, definitely. We are asking the court to mandate INEC to deregister. They are not smaller parties. They are big parties. They are parties registered in Nigeria. Okay. Now, the Constitution in section 225A. 225A means that it's an alteration. It was an addition to the original provisions in section 225 on powers of INEC and all that they can do. And that provision done before this regime provided for conditions under which INEC can deregister political parties that have been registered, saying that any party that does not meet any of those conditions should be deregistered after election. The purpose was to create sanity in the ballot paper. You will recall that pursuant to this alteration, I think in 2022, INEC deregistered 74 political parties. Before that registration, there were 90-something registered political parties. What that means is that a voter, you know our level of literacy and knowledge, comes to the ballot booth and he's handed with a ballot paper that has 90 to 100 political parties with similarity of names, similarity of symbols, and all that. To vote within a space of 3 hours, that is the maximum time you have to do your voting in Nigeria. And he has to go through that hog. Some of them end up voting for parties that don't have candidates. So is this about shrinking the political space or sanitizing the political space? Or is it that these parties that are in question, because you said they are big parties, they are not small parties. They are registered. So what is now the idea behind deregistering them? Didn't they meet the criteria before INEC registered them as valid political parties? Or are you just after shrinking the political space? INEC has criteria for registering political parties. And these criteria are based on claims. For instance, if they say you must have spread of membership across the country, you must have offices, it's easier for parties to make ad hoc arrangements and show up things, and INEC does the inspection and they register you. But you know that the political parties are not pressure groups. The essence of political parties is to contest elections and win elections and form government. So that any political party that is not able to win election at all is not a political party, and it's not what the space it occupies in the political system. The idea of this is to create sanity in the system and to ensure that only political parties that are serious and are accepted by the people through the ballot box continue to exist after election. How do you determine that when you seize the rights from Nigerians to decide whether or not they prefer that political party? No. What this section is saying is that INEC should draw from the judgment passed by Nigerians, the voters, in the election. Because Section 225 says any political party that fails to win certain positions, for a certain number of votes after election, should no longer exist. So it is the judgment of Nigerians that will compel INEC to register political parties. And what the NFFL has done in this particular case is to say, INEC, you registered 74 political parties. These ones did not meet the condition. It's not one party. There are about 5 political parties that we are challenging now. Initially, we started with 3. Then we now discovered that there are other political parties. They are still not making any impact in the political system. That also did not meet those criteria of winning certain number of votes, percentage number of votes in the presidential election, in governorship election, in even local government election. Any political party that cannot show its presence in the ballot in the ballot booth at the end of the election, meeting any of the criteria set in that constitution. Our constitution is binding. It's not worth continuing to exist. And 2, as INEC has been enforcing that provision, we are saying no, you oversighted some people that also did not meet those criteria. And so you should treat what is good for the goose is also good for the gander.
Okay, let's take a look at a very practical case study right now. You can arguably say that the ADC has not won certain seats in major elections. But let's look at current times. We have seen a large number of defections into the ADC, big political heavyweights moving into the ADC. Doesn't that stand for something? Because even some of them are sitting senators, some of them are sitting House of Rep members. Why not push again for the deregistration of such a party if it has such political heavyweights?
Now, the Constitution has set up a red tape for assessment of the parties. It is not based on the potential elections, what they can achieve in future elections, but based on, the line is drawn, based on what they were able to achieve in the last election. If at the close of an electoral season, a political party fails to meet those criteria, that party automatically qualifies for the registration. Now, you know what happens is that registration of political parties is a continuous process, whereas INEC deregisters political parties that do not meet the criteria set in the Constitution. It still has the window open to register new political parties. You saw what happened in 2014, 2015. A number of political parties came together and they formed a new political party and registered it. So, and they were able to put up a very brilliant outing in that election. So we're not after what somebody expects or a political group expects that they will make in the next election, but saying that the vehicle you are using is crippled by its inability to meet the conditions laid out in the Constitution. It's just like you want to undertake a journey and you went and hired a vehicle that has a knocked engine, and you pay and you load, and you say, no, allow me to hit the road. Or you go and hire a vehicle that has no valid licenses to be on the road, and you say, please allow me to run because I'm already loaded, I have so many passengers. No, that is not the case. As far as you do not have what you require to be on the road, you have no business being on the road. And this is not about any particular political group. It's about the number of political, there may be others we haven't noticed. Like I told you, we started with 3, and we realized that there are other people, other political parties that didn't even meet that requirement. I'm sure also that INEC wallowed under the same oversight when they deregistered 74 and omitted to register these ones. The time for this suit is quite timely because the INEC timetables are out, and you know that when you talk about political party, you are talking about groups. It's easy for this group, for whichever group that is affected, as long as the judge dispenses with the matter expeditiously, to move as a block into any other vehicle that is qualified to be on the road. In this case, another political party that has no, the body can move like that, and of course they will make the same impact. But as far as the Constitution of Nigeria is concerned, it is not politics, it is the Constitution. And the Constitution is not there to decorate our systems. The Constitution is there to guide everything that we need to do. And if you look at that section, it says shall, INEC shall, which is mandatory. Once any political party fails to meet any of those criteria, INEC is mandated to deregister them.
All right, we'll still talk more about this, but that'll be right after the short break. Don't go anywhere. We still have more for you on the program. Stay with us. ADC and other political parties. Now, Barrister Azubike, the ADC has said that this is just a scheme to play it out of affairs in 2027. These are done by imposters and is a political strategy by people to keep them out and clear the way for the ruling party, you know, ahead of the 2027 election. Do you agree with this?
I cannot agree with that because, one, this provision in the Constitution was not made under this regime and was not targeted at any particular political formation. 74 political parties have already been deregistered. And remember that the people you refer to today as the ADC, 2 that is making waves, I must admit, are not the people that registered that party. They just took up that as a vehicle, a special purpose vehicle to drive opposition. It's like you have a limousine, you want to embark on a journey, and you suddenly discover that the vehicle you have cannot run. What do? You hurriedly hire a vehicle. You can hurriedly hire a vehicle that will take you to your destination. So when you talk about the provision of the Constitution, you can't bring sentiment into it of saying, oh, it is because it is me. If anything, INEC should explain. That is why we're caught. INEC should explain why what they found in these other political parties that made them not to register them along with the other political parties. What one would expect is for the affected political parties to say, no, it's not true. We met those criteria. We made such number of votes in those states at the presidential election, governorship election, even local government election. And it's not aimed at any particular political party. I have said that over and over. We have just ADC, we have the AA, we have the Zenith Labour Party, we have the Accord Party. There are about 5 of them that are affected so far. So there's no particular emphasis on anyone. And remember that INEC has just registered 2 new political parties too. These 2 new political parties they registered do not have any inhibition. They're also going to try their luck in this coming election. And if at the close of the 2027 election, they are not able to meet the criteria set in section 225A of the Constitution, they also, the new ones, qualify for the registration. It becomes easy and a readily available brand new vehicle for even a vehicle whose passengers are getting stranded to move into this new one that has no inhibition. I'm just making a suggestion. You can easily move into the one and say, okay, let us now move to these new vehicles that are there, that have no inhibition, and see if we can meet our destination.
But don't you think that just makes it quite unpopular, makes it easier for other bigger, more recognized political parties to have the upper hand? It doesn't create a level playing field.
No. Already, the big political party you have in Nigeria is not having any threat. The APC is not having any threat as it is today.
Why do you say
APC
so?
today controls at least 31 states. APC today has 97 or so out of 106 senators, 109 senators in Nigeria. So it's far beyond what the Constitution expects them to have. That I do not think that these formations constitute any form of trade.
You just mentioned the constitutional provision, section 225A, which you said gives INEC the authority to deregister parties, and this makes it automatic. Now, if INEC already has that power, why approach the court again to mandate INEC to do its job? Because do you feel INEC is not capable of doing its job?
No, it's not being capable. It's just that INEC is a public institution working under the Constitution and must work according to the Constitution.
So are you saying
and
that
our legal system has that provision? That is why you have.
You don't trust INEC to do its job.
That is why you have processes like mandamus, certiorari, and all that enables people to compel institutions to do what they are supposed to do, that either out of oversight or any particular interest or anything they felt to do. So it's not, the Constitution has given INEC these functions. You don't fold your hands and say, INEC, go and do it the way you want. If you are not able to do it, any body or group that is affected by the interest, and of course in this case, every Nigerian is affected by it.
So where does I'm glad that you mentioned Nigerians, because where does this put Nigerians in the sense of it? Because you mentioned, when you go to the ballot, you see a lot of identical political logo, party logos, party names, and all of that. Where does this put Nigerians? Are you saying they don't have a choice? Their choice don't matter? Because it is Nigerians that are members of this party.
No. Where it puts Nigerians is to make their judgments at the end of every election to count. That where at the end of voting, a political party is not able to meet the criteria set in section 225A, it simply means that Nigerians have rejected that political party as a political party. That's what it means. that if at the end of the exercise, any voting season, a political party does not win that small percentage in presidential election, in governorship election, in even local government election, because it goes down to local government and wards. A party that cannot win 25% up to a ward cannot be registered on Nigerian in the Nigerian electoral system as a national political party. That is the issue. So what this is seeking to do is to enforce the decisions of Nigerians, that they have already rejected these people at the end of that exercise. Of the last one was 2023, there was the 2019, there was the 2015, and continuously parties have continued to be deregistered. So it's not limiting the choices of Nigerians, but enforcing the choices Nigerians have already made, while giving everybody the opportunity to also try other vehicles. That is why there is still room for registration of new political parties, just like INEC has just done.
But you agree with me that the time is short. So if peradventure, the court, grants you people your request and INEC deregisters this party, what time do other new political parties have to register and take more members? What will happen to members of the deregistered party?
No.
That means their interest is...
No, they are not. They may not need to go and start registering another political party. Like I said, take the ADC, for instance, it's a hired vehicle. If you're hiring a vehicle, you must hire a healthy one. You understand? So all you need, if you discover the one you have paid, what you have hired, is not strong to do your trip, what you do is you hire another vehicle. There are other vehicles. I have just told you now, reminded you, that 2 new political parties have been registered. There are also many other political parties that are not deregistered and not deregistrable. It's a matter of negotiation and dialogue, and people come together, just the same way they negotiated and dialogued with the original owners of ADC and all those political parties. Take, for instance, in Abia State, during the local government election, the party in power used the Zenith Labour Party. The party in power in Abia is Labour Party. But in local government election, they prefer to use, for reasons they know better, the Zenith Labour Party to do the local government elections. So it's very easy. Time is not against. As long as INEC timetable is still running, when it will be late is if the affected political parties are not able to make proper decisions and they drag this matter to a point that maybe they run out of time to field candidates, or their candidates who are stranded can no longer participate in the election, just like what happened in the FCT elections with the Labour Party. You know what happened was that close to the election, after nominations and filing of candidates had closed, the court ruled that the other faction, the Nenadi Osman, is that the name?
Nenadi Usman.
Oh, yes, faction of the party was the authentic one. And of course, they were allowed to participate. Sorry, they were declared the authentic faction of the leadership of the party. But unfortunately, as at that time, nomination of candidates for the FCT elections had closed. So when they say, well, since you are the authentic, that means if the other people submitted any other thing before now, it is null and void. And to that extent, your party, yes, your leadership is authentic, but you cannot field candidates. So there is time now. No party has started submitting candidates. All these parties need to do is to do an introspection. Take this constitution, you have read it. Take your records from INEC and ask yourself, this is our party. As at the close of 2023 election, for instance, did we meet those criteria? If they didn't, they hurriedly make an arrangement and field candidates.
Let's talk about the legal competence of this suit. There are claims that there are inconsistencies in the plaintiff's identity. Does this suit even meet the threshold of competence?
Well, they say, no more judex in Kasaswa. No man is a judge in his own case. That is why it's submitted to court. And the case of some of the defendants is not all. Some of the defendants are not arguing on that. But some of the defendants, just like people talk about technicalities. Instead of addressing the issue, they are looking for means of shooting down the suit itself. Just like you alleged, or some people allege, that this suit is aimed at shooting down some political formations. It's normal within the law. So even if that is the aim, fine. Because if they succeed now, people will not bother to ask but did you qualify? People will say, oh, that case is gone. So that is the case of the preliminary objection of some of the defendants, that there is a difference between National Forum of Former Legislators and Incorporated Trustees of National Forum of Former Legislators that have one incorporation certificate that is already before the court. So that is their argument, and it is not for me to stay in this studio and say that that argument is right or wrong. That is their argument, and that is why you have a judge. The judge will decide that, but that's not the substance of the issue. The substance of the issue, which must be addressed, because even if the court rules that, oh, the name you used was wrong, this group will still go to court in the proper name and still raise those same substantive issues. And by the time they are determined, those parties affected may be on injury time, critically injury time. Okay, so the advice, what I would have expected was that parties will go straight, discuss the substance of this matter so that they have an idea of, all the parties have an idea of what their fate. Okay, let's take a look at the road ahead to 2027. Already, a lot of Nigerians have lost trust in Nigeria's electoral process. Youths most especially, they feel that it's a rigged process, it is not genuine, and politicians and the players involved just do this for their own selfish interest. With this kind of suit in court, where do you think that places Nigeria's electoral process and the trust of Nigerians? Yes, the disillusionment Nigerians have on the electoral system is because of what has happened in these cases, in this particular case. A situation where at the end of the election, you see people have similar facts and they have different treatments. A situation where 74 political parties were deregistered and others who also did not meet those criteria were not registered. That's why Nigerians don't seem to trust the electoral system, because they'll be asking themselves, why did INEC not deregister these people when they deregistered as much as 74 that also did not meet those criteria? So that is where it leaves us. As far as this suit is concerned, every Nigerian should be happy that we have a system in place that enables us to seek proper interpretation and enforcement of our constitution, because if the elections are conducted and if all our activities are administered according to the constitution, definitely every Nigerian will be happy. The problem we have is that we tend to apply the constitution when and where it suits us. And if there's any provision that is not beneficial to us, even in the elections, anybody that wins elections, if you ask him, he says, no, free and fair, very good. If you go to court and you win in tribunal, you applaud the judiciary. But if the judgment is against you, then immediately you condemn and demonize the judicial system. I believe that the solution to the general problems of Nigeria is to do all that we do, whether you are an individual or an institution, high or low, even in your private transactions, do it according to the law. If everybody follows the law, definitely Nigeria will be good for all. Well, I'm sure that Nigerians are looking forward to a free, fair, and credible elections come 2027. And I pray for that too. We'll keep our eye on developments ahead. Thank you so much, Barrister Uzo Azubike, for your time with us on the program. It's a delight speaking with you this morning. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for